What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So starting off with this upcoming week, there is going to be a crazy roller coaster. I'm just going to say it like that because starting off, a lot of consumer linked data this week, even starting with Monday with retail sales. So that definitely will directly affect SoFi. Last data that's been coming out linked to consumers hasn't been the best. So of course, a lot of people are going to be looking at that data with a fine-tooth comb. And then over and above that, you have a lot of Fed speakers. So I think just going into this upcoming week, things weren't looking necessarily the best. Plus, the fear and greed index right now is at 46, and no doubtably because of the whole situation that has developed over this weekend between Israel and Iran, that's just going to probably pull it to the low 40s, if not high 30s. So people's appetite for risk is just going to go straight down, and so there's going to be a lot of selling, regrettably. There is a lot of good companies unveiling their earnings this week, though, so a lot of key banks, as well as Netflix and several others. So a lot of those could essentially move the broader market. Netflix has been able to do that in the past. So again, those are some ones to kind of take note. And obviously, SoFi's earnings is roughly around 2 weeks away. So you might have some FOMO kicking in probably near the tail end. I was going to initially say that it was going to be probably this upcoming Monday. That's where kind of you'll see some buying happening and whatever else, but because of everything that's been developing over this last couple days or day and a half, I do feel that there's going to be a lot of blood in the market. There isn't any anticipated news, no conferences, nothing like that SoFi is planning on participating in this week, so it is just going to be piggybacking off of many of the things, so just the broader, larger concerns. But when it comes down to Iran and Israel, that whole scenario, it started to pop up and kind of affect the market somewhat on Friday. And this is why, no doubtably, shorts did double down. So shorts increased to 3.46 million on Friday. So this is, again, something to kind of consider and probably expect. The fact that shorts will once again re-enter into SoFi. Even though it's pulled down quite a lot from the short interest, I think the peak was 22.5%. Somewhere around there. So it is sitting at 17.23. So again, just be prepared that shorts might enter into SoFi. But looking at utilization, 69.23%. Short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 70.18%. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. With SoFi closing where it did, so at 726 or 733, so as you can kind of see right now, looking at the open interest, there's 3,000 in open interest at that 7. So that will be purchased first thing on Monday, but 3,000 is absolutely nothing. So it's not going to cause any substantial move in the stock price. But looking into this upcoming week's current open interest, you already do see a wall at 7, a wall at 750. So looks like 13,000 at that 7, 14,000 at that 750, and then 66,000 at that 8. So in my opinion, I definitely do not feel that SoFi will get above 8 under any circumstances. Market makers will probably rather die than allow that to happen. Aside from that, though, you do see these walls starting to form. So probably you will see it kind of being pushed below that $7 mark once again. And I think based on the technicals, just looking at some of the strong support and resistance points, you can kind of see the target that they most likely will try to push SoFi towards. So with it right now at 733, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. But if it does break this 708, which on Monday I do feel it is going to be kind of below that, then it will be trading between this S2 and this S1. So I feel like on Monday, because of all the crap that's coming out and with earnings and just a fear in the market, it will be trading between this range right here. I don't see it breaking below the 690 unless there's more of an additional push by shorts. But who knows? Anything could happen. When it comes down to SoFi, if there's these crazy sell-offs near the tail end of the week, I do see probably those getting bought up more so than the beginning part of the week, only because just people don't necessarily know how far that whole situation is going to escalate. And I'm definitely non-expert when it comes down to like war and or conflicts and that kind of crap. But no doubtably, based on what has been happening with cryptocurrency over this weekend, big whales have been liquidating. So no doubtably, you are going to see a big transition into, or I guess rotation into money markets, as what's been happening over this last little bit. And so ultimately, you can kind of see that right here in this chart. Just throughout the years, looks like since 2011, like this has been at all-time highs. So people's appetite for risk, even though over this last little bit has somewhat been misleading, it's been like in the 80s and whatever else, which right now is starting to pull back down, like I said. But essentially people just want their money to collect that 5% in the money market. So when it comes down to this week, I feel like this is where people will be rotating their money into. And it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. This is why across the board, not necessarily with SoFi, you've seen a lot of institutional presence over this last little bit, but this is why you've seen more of a pull down in the overall volume across the board. So let me know your thoughts on that. These are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market over the last several trading days. So it's a good amount in my opinion, definitely nowhere near where March was or even February, but still I think this is maybe a positive sign. So we'll definitely have to watch and see what institutions are doing with SoFi on Monday and whether they are selling, buying, or whatever else. So right now, looking on the actual chart, so on Friday it did attempt to transition from the higher to the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. It was met with that resistance. Actually, to be fully honest, I think it closed right below that. That central Bollinger Band is this right here, so the 736. So essentially it did close below that. And then looking at stochastic, you do see a very bearish deviation, so red line above the white. But I guess on a positive note, it did break off of this overbought status, if you want to think positively. One thing to really watch for on the technicals is it not to break below this point right here, so the previous low of this kind of rotation right here, because if it does break that, then this is where it could trend down, and then obviously depending on that 708, very strong support. So if it does break below that, then you can anticipate more of a further breakdown. So you'll just have to look at some of these kind of points right here. But aside from that, just retail has been getting out over this last couple of days. It looks like ever since April the 9th. So maybe they were anticipating fear. I'm not really sure, but especially based on the 9th, you did see it trying to get above that 50-day moving average. It did fail, so maybe people are just wanting to take profits or something. So let me know your thoughts on where you feel SoFi is going to be going this upcoming week. Do you think it's going to kind of push higher into the 8s and defy logic in the broader market? Do you think this is going to be the outlier that people kind of rotate to? Or do you think it's going to kind of push to the lower side? In my opinion, just take note of these two support levels. So the 662 and 690, I don't know how far essentially the market's going to go down today, but this is one of those weird kind of inverse scenarios. Everyone is assuming that the market is going to go down. So in the past, when people have thought that, big money buys the dip. So I don't know if this week that same circumstance will happen or not, but we'll just have to wait and see. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And like I said, hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.